You love your weekly dose of bacon as my podcast, but you need even more bacon. Well, just go over to baconismypodcast.com. You can engage even more with us over there. It's a pathway to our music, extra content, our social media pages. Most importantly, grab yourself some pretty sweet swag and put it all over your body parts. Again, that's baconismypodcast.com. Listen to some tunes, pick up some merch, and tell us, what's your bacon?
Okay, everybody, welcome again. It's another Monday. You know what that means.
Yeah. Bacon is my podcast.
Bacon is my podcast. My buddy Jim here. I'm Mike. Today we are joined by lead singer of the band City of the Week, Stef with an F. What's going on?
Not much. Well, actually a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you
Nice
for
to meet
being
you
here.
guys.
Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon is my... Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon is my...
What's a lot? What's happening with you this week?
We just dropped a new single. It's our first release, and I want to say 3 years. Well, our first original release in 3 years. We've dropped a couple covers over the last couple years, but we haven't dropped new music in 3 years since Pulling Teeth. And it feels really weird and really crazy and really exciting to put out a brand new video and song.
Yeah. I feel like this week you actually put it out. This is when this is dropping is a little bit further down the line, but like also this week we had you guys, we had Outlining Color, another guests of ours, of Mice and Men and stuff like that.
Yeah, fantastic, like new music.
Yeah, so like Release Radars, you're on there definitely with like a lot of pretty decent bands, so that's got to be pretty cool.
Nice. Hell yeah.
So you guys have been kind of off from releasing new material for the past 3 years. Pre-pandemic, you guys had a hell of a show schedule. Were you guys like touring at the time when things got shut down, or like did everything just come to an abrupt stop in the middle of touring? Did you have plans? What was going on?
Honestly, no. It kind of came at the perfect time for us because when winters come, we always snowbird. Well, Cody, the bass player, and I snowbird. So we always try and go to Arizona. We always end up in LA and just live there for a few months, then come back to Minnesota. So we had moved to LA again, and we were going to stay like for real. So we actually got like a real apartment and everything and jobs and whatever. And we're just kind of settling in there. But, we wanted to work in the music industry. We knew a few people here and there at different, just like music industry stuff. And so we, applied for all these jobs, and the music industry there like hires by like quarters. So they start hiring like mid-March is when usually like they'll start having you come in for interviews and whatnot. So we spent like 3 months applying for things and kind of figuring out what we were going to do there. And then the week, like we blew through all our savings and we're just working crappy jobs. And then mid-March hit, which we're like, yes, like, we'll get to finally hear back on some real jobs. And then everything shut down and all those companies just laid everyone off. Oh. So it was really scary though, because it was like, holy shit, we just like uprooted our entire lives to actually finally do more music stuff and first Cody film stuff. And then all of a sudden now we have no savings and we don't qualify for any unemployment because we technically were barely employed in the first place. We weren't residents of California. Right. We're kind of like in that middle ground of not really being a resident anywhere and, having a couple different places and not really real jobs. So it was kind of like,
oh
fuck.
Man, that's like worst case scenario.
Literally. So it's like, we can't file for unemployment. We have no money and we're paying for 2 apartments and we're like all the prospective jobs are gone. And then in LA, you already can't find work. So, right. With the pandemic, then nobody could find work. It was like millions and millions of people on unemployment and we didn't qualify. So we're like, what do we do now? And so I was just like driving for Instacart and just like, trying to find anything. And we ended up moving to Arizona then and kind of starting over here. And we didn't really know anybody here, so we just had to like start from square one, which was fine. But it kind of gave us a chance to like just kind of resettle into our personal lives and just like start over, which I feel like wouldn't have really necessarily happened had we just kept touring, it's really hard for us to not tour. So it kind of forced us to be like, hey, like you're going to focus on your personal lives. You're going to get your shit together. And then, touring will come back. So it was actually a little bit of a relief, to be honest. And then it gave us time to write as well.
Nice.
That's cool. I've been amazed with watching and talking to creative people who during this time have had to like figure stuff out. And like you said, it's either like trying to do a shift or it's like focusing inward. So it's like either I got to find a new thing to do to be creative, or it's time to like work on myself. And it sounds like you guys did like the work on yourself thing. What brought you to Arizona? Was there, you said you didn't know people there. It was coin toss? Like, how'd you get there?
I mean, we just like, we hate the winters. We hate up north. So we just got sick of it. So we started snowboarding here, and my extended family actually own condos down here. And so we've just looked into trying to snowboard here, and it's just never worked out. And then this year we actually found an apartment in Arizona. We're going to move here for the winter. And it was a scam. The guy took our money and ran. Oh, and it was crazy though, because like we actually came down, saw the actual apartment, and like did my research on the guy and everything, but it turns out somebody had stolen his identity. So the guy that I had like, oh my God, everything done my research on, the place we went to see, like it wasn't even hit, like, which is, so it was crazy. It was like, holy shit. Like it was mind fuck. And then we quit our jobs and everything. It was supposed to leave in 2 days. And I was like, oh fuck. Cause the keys never came, obviously. He was going to mail us the keys and they never fucking came. And so God. Thankfully it ended up okay. I got my money back through Wells Fargo. Hallelujah. Cause it was a lot of money. And then, so we ended up just going to LA and just kind of bopping around there with different people, living with a producer. And then we found an apartment with some friends. And then once the pandemic hit, it was like, well, what's the point? We never wanted to be in LA in the first place. And then we just kind of, we're like, let's make it work because we have a really cheap apartment, blah, blah, blah. But we never were really like super happy there. And so we were like, let's just do our original plan. We found an apartment in Arizona that was just like super nice, but super cheap, had the studio we wanted. So it was like, let's just do it and figure it out. And we love it here. We're never leaving.
Awesome.
I actually had I had family in Scottsdale.
Nice.
Scottsdale and Tempe. So
nice. Both solid places.
Yeah. Okay, so in a world of streaming services, where can you find breaking news, live sports, and a mountain of entertainment? Look no further than Paramount Plus. With plans as low as $5.99 per month, you'll gain access to the following: live news from both national and local CBS networks, live sports from the NFL, NCAA, PGA, and much, much more. Your favorite MTV, BET, Nickelodeon, and Comedy Central shows from past and present. New original content like The Stand or Star Trek Picard or SpongeBob's Camp Coral. Smithsonian Channel shows and documentaries. Movies, and much, much more. Go to baconismypodcast.com, click on the sponsors tab, and click on that Paramount Plus link, and open yourself to peak streaming service. That's baconismypodcast.com. Click on the sponsors tab, then on the Paramount Plus link, and dive into thousands of episodes, live TV, original series, and hit movies right now. Do it. I like that place.
I've never been to Arizona. I've looked there because I too hate the winters, and we're here in New York, and
wow.
I grew up in the Midwest, so it's nothing but winter all the time. Like you're Minneapolis, and I'm Indiana, so
wow.
Brutal winters all around. So I've heard nothing but great things about Arizona. So.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
One of these days.
We'll have to take a look at that.
One thing that I did notice about you guys when kind of doing research on you was that you never did the thing that so many bands, and when I was coming up and I was starting my first bands and stuff like that, you always have in your head where like, if I want to be successful, I got to go to LA, I got to go to Nashville, I got to go, to New York, I got to go to one of these big cities. And I remember when I was first starting, I had that idea. And even though like I was really central and like, from where I lived, I could, within 2 hours, I could hit like 7 different states. And in those states, I could hit like 25 different cities that had so many different clubs. And it was like, no, let's go all the way to a coast where there's nothing but competition and no one but industry people. What
Right.
what was it that kept you guys from kind of doing that? Because you've made a name for yourself and not gone that route. You've stayed kind of like independent. You've stayed kind of like, hey, we're in a city, but we're not chasing this labeled thing or music industry location thing. How did you guys kind of come up with that plan?
I mean, basically, you kind of have to think about it like, who's the one that's like supporting you? Who's the one who's in as a band? Who really matters in your career? The only thing that matters is your fans. They're the ones coming to your shows. They're the ones, buying your merch. They're the ones essentially like funding your career and making it happen. So it's like, what your fans aren't in California. Like, California is the most expensive state in the entire country, well, except New York City, but San Francisco is now the most expensive city to live in. Its rent is outrageous. Nobody can pay their bills. Taxes are like 30%, even if you're dirt poor, and the homelessness is out of control. Who the fuck can I swear on here?
Yes,
Oh yeah,
you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Who the fuck in California is just going to shows every night to discover new bands? Like,
Right.
nobody. Because, like, I mean, I remember going to a show, seeing just like a local band. I mean, covers like $30 to get in, and drinks are like $20. And you're like, what normal person who,
Right.
like me, who listens to music, can just go and randomly do that on a weeknight or whatever? Nobody can afford it. I spent $300 in drink or Cody between Cody and I. We spent $300 in drinks, and we were barely buzzed. And I'm like,
It's easy to do. You can do that in an hour. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, it's crazy. It's like, where if you live in the Midwest or somewhere where things are affordable, you can actually go out, you can have a good time. And that's where, fans are. Like, the secondary markets are huge. People always want to hit the big cities. Secondary markets are massive because, people have, they have decent income because the cost of living is lower in those secondary markets. People are always looking for something to do because there's not enough to do. I'm from a small town, so I know all about that.
Yep.
And you just kind of have to go where it makes sense as far as fan wise, and the coast in California is just not it. We just always ended up there because we just know so many people there, so many friends, so many industry people that we've had to like work with, and that we want to work with. So we're always there kind of working and recording and doing stuff. We've just kind of ended up there because it's easy for us to snowbird there. And then we were like, oh, let's stay. But I mean, it was never like let's move to LA, because I personally am not a fan. I think it's kind of dirty. It's overcrowded, and I can't do the crowding thing. I don't like the big crowds,
Right.
So, but I don't know. I mean,
It makes sense. You're totally right. And I feel what you say about like the big cities and then the smaller markets too, because it feels like, especially when you're touring, and I don't know if you guys find this on the level that you're at, because you're doing a lot bigger shows and you're doing the big festivals and things like that. As a band that like tours and plays like small clubs and everything, you find that like the bigger cities are not as responsive to new music and original music, and they want to hear. They're in a big city, so they go out once a week, and they want to remember high school, and so they want to hear the songs that they heard in high school. And so it's hard to kind of break through that shell and be like, hey, we're good.
Yeah,
there's new songs, check it out.
The major markets,
Right.
they all want to hear cover bands. That's it.
well, you
So
have to
it's
make
totally
choices. In bigger markets, it's like, okay, well, this week we have, Avenged Sevenfold coming. We have From First to Last, and we have,
too, yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm just like, and any given week, there's like, and then like, my friend's birthday party is this day. So it's like, okay, I have 4 events this week. I can only go out, once or twice, or can afford to go once or twice. You're going to pick your favorites,
Right.
And when you're a new band, when you're at the bottom of the totem pole, you're never going to be a priority, So, but when you go to a secondary market and they're like, wow, we have, mud wrestling like in 2 months or whatever it is, and the small town, like, it's like, holy cow, a band's coming to town. Like, the whole town shows up, like, straight up. It's crazy.
Right. I think it's important for bands. Like, we have a lot of friends that are in bands and from all different levels that listen to the show. And I think for ones that are kind of like putting bands together and starting and doing all that, it's super important for them to hear this from somebody like you, because they go, oh shit, maybe I should think more about working my town that I'm in and appreciating the fans that I have and working the town next door and being able to do stuff like that, instead of just this like, hey, I've got a website now, I should move to California and get famous, and then maybe I'll write a song or two.
Yeah. Yeah, and also we do have a lot of New Yorkers, and there's not a real rock market here. I mean,
Right.
there's a small one, but
Yeah, what's
it's
that
not-
in Minneapolis? What's that scene like there?
I mean, it's gotten pretty competitive, I think. I personally, for like the active rock market, I feel like there's just not a lot of it. I feel like it used to be a great place. It's really great for metal and like heavy metal and like the indie sort of like, you know, showing your ankles with your pants and, you know, having your guitar
Right.
strapped too high. Like it's like that kind of scene. But it's become very like corporate, like Live Nation now like owns all the freaking venues and stuff. So it's
Everything,
like,
yeah.
you know, like if you're not really trying to do corporate stuff or if you don't get asked, it's like, oh well, I guess I'll play a show in like 2 years. You know.
I've been to Minneapolis once, and we went.
Did you
to
say
the
Minneapolis?
He did.
Minneapolis?
Thank you for catching that, because I just wasn't going to say anything.
I said Minneapolis.
Yes, you did.
Minneapolis. It's Minneapolis.
Wait, you legit think that's what it is?
What?
Well, say it again.
Minneapolis.
Where did you get that other N from? Minneapolis.
Oh my god.
I'm screaming right
Wow.
now.
Is that a shirt?
It's
That's
gonna
a
be.
shirt.
It's gonna be.
Cool.
I'm making it later.
Oh man.
Look for the Minneapolis shirt with Mike's face on it,
Oh,
coming
God.
soon at baconismypodcast.com. I'll have that up in a week.
Yes. Wow. So yeah, I went to
You can't say it right now, can you?
No, I can't. I went there once.
Whew.
Yeah, I went there once, and I went to the Shout House, and I was there with a doctor. My wife was my girlfriend at the time. We do AV for medical conferences and stuff, and then like that night you go out, you hang out, and you have a good time in whatever city you're in. So we were in, and
Minneapolis.
and we went to the Shout House, and there were people who thought that that one of the doctors was at the time
Is this where that was? They
Yeah.
thought he was McCain.
John McCain.
Yeah.
So the place, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the place, but like there was no seats, and there was this group of guys that were all sitting there, and they the waitress calls the 3 or 4 of us over and said, "Hey, these guys just gave you a table." And it was like a 4-hour wait for a table. We're like, "Oh, cool." This dude was approached by everybody in the bar, like to take a picture and all that stuff. We got free drinks all night.
That's
He took
fantastic.
pictures with like bachelorette parties and stuff. It was awesome. Yeah. That
That's
was
amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And it was a hell of a night. That's why I don't know how to say Minneapolis, or that's why I say Minneapolis. Minneapolis.
I am so glad that you called him out on that, because like people think I'm mean to him all the time. So I was just letting that one go. I was like, is it a small Minneapolis?
I don't know if that was like a joke or something. I was like, what?
No, he just couldn't say it.
Oh no, I'm a joke. I'm a joke. I'm aware of that. I am. All right. Well, whatever.
So another
give
thing
a
I
shit.
wanted to ask you, because you're a singer, but you're also a singer who has had quite an extensive musical background. Anyway, you've done the Singing Success program, which I also did, and just listening to you, hearing the band and everything, like I can hear also that you're an incredibly knowledgeable musician. If I miss anything, let me know. So you have a degree in music, you've taught vocals, you piano major at UCLA, trombone and jazz bands, led a drum line. Like, what am I missing here?
Okay, I wasn't a piano major at UCLA. I didn't go to UCLA, but you found that probably because I was going to. I have this story that I always tell people. I was actually searching for colleges, and when I was 16, and I went to LA because I got invited to perform at this conference, and so I went to UCLA, and I was like, I'm gonna be a piano major, and I had my audition tape, all these sonatas or whatever the fuck, and I marched in there, and I was all excited about it, and the walls were like really white, and like there was like nothing, there's no posters, and it was just like I just remember thinking in my head it sounds so stupid, like the walls are white and like there's no color, and it just felt like an insane asylum. And I was like, and then I talked with the department head, whatever. He's like, yeah, they practice about 6 hours a day on top of their classes. And I'm like, I don't want to play piano 6 hours a day. Like, when am I going to sing? And I remember thinking, when am I going to be able to sing? And it was like that moment that I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, that's when like, okay, well, like when that's what you're worried about, it's like, so I just threw away my audition. I was like, yeah, I didn't actually want to audition, whatever. So I threw in the trash and I went to Musicians Institute, and there was color, like the walls were like green or something. And I was like, yes, like that's a stupid way to measure a school, but everyone there just looked stoked and were like, doing their thing. And I was like, that's what I want to do, but yeah, no, that was that.
Nice. Well, no, I don't think that's a stupid way to evaluate a school at all. I think like that makes a lot of sense to me. It's like
it doesn't seem like a white wall is going to breed creativity.
Right.
It seems just very much
like a hospital.
Just play.
It's what it felt like was a hospital. And and like I'm all about, like, obviously when I was in college then, I went to McNally Smith then, and so I majored in voice. Mm-hmm. And I ended up singing about 6 hours a day for the couple of years I was there. So, I mean, but it was like I was happy. That's what I wanted to do. So I was just always singing, always practicing. And but then, but it's like that's what I wanted to do. But it's like I can't imagine like going to UCLA and being a piano major and having it like there's no limit on how much piano you can practice, because like your fingers are like never going to get tired. And so I was just like, dude, there's always going to be somebody better than me, because some of these people literally practice like 12 hours a day. Like that's insane, So I was just like, oof, that's just. I want to do rock music. I want to, chill and make music and work hard and, do the crazy game that is the music industry, as fucking crazy as it sounds.
Well, it takes a special, it's a thing you either have to do or nobody chooses it. Right. Like you have to do it and you can't do anything else, or you find other things to do.
And it's funny too, because you go and you lay all the things that are up against you and you're still like, yeah, I think that I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I'm still in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hey guys, I got a quick question for you. Are you dog people? If you know anything about us, you know that here at Bacon Is My Podcast, our dogs are our family members, right? We love to give them a little something extra to look forward to every month, get them excited, and that's why we subscribe to BarkBox. So every single month, Bruce, Bane, and Bruno are treated to 2 brand new durable toys, plus like uniquely curated packs of treats. It keeps them excited, keeps them engaged, and you never have to like go out shopping for stuff. So if you have a 4-legged furry friend that is your favorite alliteration, we got a special deal for you. Just for being a Bacon Is My Podcast consumer, if you head over to baconismypodcast.com and scroll to the sponsors, click on the BarkBox link, you'll get an extra toy in your first order from BarkBox. So head over, once again, baconismypodcast.com, click on the BarkBox link, and spoil your favorite 4-legged furry friend today. More alliteration. What's your bacon? So being someone that's been trained that much and done that much perfecting, right? You've done a lot of perfecting of a lot of different styles, genres, instruments, techniques, all that. What do you say to, another thing, like when I was growing up, you always had this idea in your head that like you'd have the people that say, rock music's all about feel. You lose the feel if you get too technical. I can see your face right now that you're just like, oh, I hate this. Right? Like it's frustrating when you hear that stuff. But what do you say? Like I teach now. I teach vocals and guitar, and so I get this from students sometimes where it's like you're trying to go through, okay, well, we're learning our modes here, or we're learning, we're just learning some theory here, and they're like, I want to learn how to play this song, and it's like, right, but let's learn what you're playing and why. What would you say to people that kind of have that mentality of like, how has it helped you and not been a hindrance to you in what you're doing?
Yeah, so I mean, it's crazy to think, but I've now been teaching almost 13 years, which is wild to think about. So over the years, I've kind of, I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
Basically, I found the biggest thing is like I'll always, the first thing I assess when I have a student that comes to me is I'm always like, what are your goals? What do you want to be able to do? And, kind of get a feel if they want to be a professional or if they want to be, like more like a tribute band, like kind of do every style, or if they want to develop their own style, like whatever it is. And so when they're, we're learning technique and they're like, oh, I just, it should be about feeling like, I feel like this technique's going to, take away from it. Like, I always kind of go back to like, whatever their goal is. Like you said, somebody like, I just want to be able to play this song, but it's like kind of a good example is we were, I had a student that was like wanting to improvise or whatnot, or like play a solo or something for, I think he was doing like the Iron Maiden show or his Van Halen show. I can't remember. I have a ton of students right now, so I'm like, so it gets a little crazy. And
Right.
I was having him do some scales and like teaching them like how to, find the key, the order of sharps, all that sort of technical stuff. And, you can tell the kids like, ugh, over it. And I was just like, all of this. So I basically just sat down and showed him, like, we went to the song that he was wanting to like improv over. And, we sat down and we figured out the key. And we figured out like, we kind of took that the boring part of like learning the scales and whatnot and applied it. And it was like, okay, now that you know the key, you know the scale, whatnot, now let's apply that to the song and basically just teach them how to apply that to what they're doing. And then he's like, oh my God, this is so much easier, and was able to do it like that.
Right.
And it was like, okay, well, do you see how knowing this and having this knowledge is made it just so easy? And you can do this with every single song. And so then we did it for a couple of his other songs and he was able to get it. And he was like, oh, that makes sense. And then, he hasn't complained or, said anything since. And it's just now he has this hunger to like want to learn more. I think like when you kind of like bring that stuff to light, same thing with like singers. The biggest thing with singers is they want to make sure they have that feeling and emotion, but it's like, I'm like, well, you're not going to have any feeling or emotion if you lose your voice the second day of tour because you don't know how to sing. I mean, I've toured with so many bands. We've done almost 30 tours now and, with multiple bands on every tour. And there's been so many of them that have lost their voice a few days in, a couple weeks in, and are like, how do you manage to do it? And I'm like, well, because I have technique, I have training. Like I know how to sing for 2 hours every night and be fine the next day. Like if you don't have that training, it's going to be really fucking difficult. Like I couldn't do it if I didn't have training. So, I always like tell the kids, how to apply it, and that will kind of always set them straight.
Now, how has all that knowledge helped you kind of create in your band your own identity and your own sound? Because you're able to dip into a lot of different inspiration and different knowledge. Right. So how would you say has that helped you in your writing?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest part is like as we're writing, like, if we have a song, we kind of usually start with the music first. Like, if we'll have a chorus or what, I'm a big chorus person. Like it's all about the hook, it's all about the chorus. Absolutely. And, we'll have a chorus that I'm trying to like sing, write a melody to. And you can hear, if you're trained, you can sort of hear like a chorus and you're like, that doesn't work. That's not strong because, you think of like the order of, what's it called? Like progressions, like chord progressions. There's like certain progressions that work, like dominant chords, secondary dominants, and then ones that are not quite as strong. And if you go from a chord that's really strong to one that's really weak, then your progression or your chorus is going to sound really weak. And so I can always hear like right away, like, because the guys, Cody is, I don't think he doesn't know like the whole theory behind it. Somehow he's incredible. I don't know how people can play and not know the theory behind it, because I only like know the theory behind it. So I don't know how he like writes all the crazy stuff he does and not know the theory behind it. But like, he'll play something and I'm like, what chord? I'm like, what chord is this going to this? And he'll be like, you have to like figure it out. And I'm like, okay, that's right. And I'll always be like, oh, that doesn't work because this, let's figure out the key. And like, you can kind of like piece it then together then and make it really strong. So that definitely is like a game changer, being able to do that. Or otherwise it'd be like writing a song and then being like, that doesn't sound great. I don't know what to do. Right, it'd always be going back to the drawing board, but now it's like make a quick change and it's like, boom, it's there. So
like with writing, because I've read in other articles and other interviews that you've done both jamming in like a rehearsal studio, and then also have put things together in a recording studio. What's your favorite way to write?
Recording studio.
Yeah.
I'm a very neat, like very type A. So, which is like very like not creative. So it's really crazy. I'm a creative person that's like very type A. So I like to like really organize things and make sure like things are like even, and like we have like every section has like their own thing. Jamming sometimes I feel like is just very, it gets to so jam session-y, and I'm not like someone that wants to just sit and like groove out and whatever. I did that in jazz bands for a long time, and it's just not really like my thing 100%. I'd rather sit down and just like get down to the business and like get the song written, and then like sing it, and then you can the quicker you get the basis of the song down, then it's like you can go to the production and like the ear candy stuff, and you can just play with it more.
Yeah, that's it was funny because I always started with the whole jamming and come up with an instrumental and then layer your vocals over it and stuff like that. And then eventually, once I got into recording and stuff, I learned how to write songs by myself, and that's what I wanted. And moving forward, it was always like, listen, I don't mind jamming every once in a while, but give me like I'm bringing you like a pretty much completed thing. Like let's give me something else.
Right.
Like don't just come to me.
I don't want to hear that riff.
I got
for
a
6
cool
minutes.
riff, and then your drummer goes, "Cool, I'm gonna try a different drum beat for 6 minutes while you play that riff over and over and over." I'm so over it.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
like I taught my band members like how to use shit on the computer and stuff. And then he and I started writing together, and I kind of showed him that approach,
Yeah.
and he was kind of like, What is this?
Right. I was like, I don't know how this works.
It is weird, right? Like at first, because I feel like everybody starts out jamming because like that's kind of what everyone knows. That's what everyone does. Like, you have your band and then it's like, all right, let's jam. And the whole technical side, there's not always somebody in the band who is technical to like, record people. I don't know how to do that.
Right.
Until someone, can get GarageBand and like try and figure it out. But I'm totally with you on that. The whole, playing for 6 minutes. And it's like, I feel like right away, like also too, like, 5 people, you'd say you have 5 people in a band, 5 people writing a song is a lot. Like I found like narrowing writing sessions down to like 2 of us is like, then it's, you just kind of get things done, and then you can send it to the other guys, be like, hey, any feedback? You like this? Cool. Awesome. Let's keep going. Versus like 5 people's inputs at once is chaos, I think.
Oh yeah, every 5 seconds somebody's trying something different, and
Right.
you got to try it and you got to do it.
And I also find it's a lot of it, and not all the time, but a lot of times everybody just wants to get their shit in, and it's like no, it's not about that. It's about the song.
Right.
Let's write the song, and then we'll worry about getting some of that in, if at all.
Yeah, we did an exercise, and I give it to students sometimes, but I came up with it for students, and then I brought it back to my band, and I was like, here's this thing we're going to do now. And it's literally like for the last 15 minutes of a rehearsal, I'm like, okay, we're going to do a 1-5-6-4. Somebody pick a key, and it has to be that. And we're just going to play that, and we're going to come up with a structure and play it. And then we're going to freeform it and record it. But it's going to be 3.5 minutes.
Nice.
And it's like, we'll do that and do it like 2 or 3 times. And at the end we have a little something, and it's like, oh, maybe there's an idea there. Maybe there isn't one. But when you structure it, it seems to like, if somebody has a direction, I feel like they come up with better stuff.
Yeah.
When anything's open, it's kind of like overstimulation, where it's like when I try and shop on Amazon and I'm reading too many reviews. I can't pick anything.
Yeah, I get that.
No, totally.
So my other question as a singer, because I know that I've run into this and I kind of work with this a lot, is first, lyrically, your songs seem very personal. And I've seen some interviews where you say that you draw from personal experience. And so that can sometimes tend to be darker at times. And it can be tough sometimes. I know that I've written songs that are like difficult for me to sing because they kind of take you back to that moment. Do you have any of those that like still to this day when you're on stage, it's like, it's rough for you to do, but it's like one of those songs, or it happens to be a fan favorite. And so you have that moment where you're like, man, I'm sorry you like this song, because that means that you're going through some shit. And it's like, it's tough to sing. Do you have any of those that you can think of?
I mean, we rehearsed, or well, we used to when we lived in Minnesota. We rehearsed like a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I practice. I sing every single day. So I mean, I always make sure that I'm like really prepped before we take a song on stage. That I'm like, it's all just technical stuff.
Yeah.
So you're not, you kind of have to dig a little bit to sort of get the emotional impact. So I mean, I don't. I would say not this time is probably the one I get most emotional. Sometimes I'll get a little emotional with it. I think I think it's just that one. I feel like as far as what we still play live,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably that one because it is very, like it's about
Raw.
the people closest to you.
Yeah.
Are your biggest people that bring you down, which that's always going to be a little touchy. So I'd probably just that one, but it kind of is about the night. It's kind of about like there's some nights when we're on stage and like the lights hit right and the moment's perfect, and then it just hits me, and then I'll be like, whoa, like I'm kind of tearing up a little bit.
Right.
Other nights it's like the energy might not be there, so I'm kind of like
Right.
try to pull deep for that emotion.
All right. We got to take a quick time out. As you could probably tell by now, Jim and I, we're t-shirt guys. And we're always looking for the most comfortable and best fitting t-shirts possible when it comes to ourselves or our merch. Sometimes they're soft and they unravel in a few washes. Sometimes they're durable, but they feel like sandpaper on your nipples. And it's just not our thing. Well, maybe it's Jim's thing, but it's definitely not my thing. And sometimes you clean your shirts and from sweating at work or on stage, they just kind of get all funky even after you clean them. Well, Fresh Clean Tees is a solution for all your t-shirt woes. With multiple styles and colors, they keep you looking so fresh and so clean. Go to baconismypodcast.com, click on the sponsors tab, and click on the Fresh Clean Tees link and start looking great and feeling great without spending a fortune. Again, that's baconismypodcast.com. Click on the sponsors tab, then scroll to that Fresh Clean Tees link to start looking comfortable and stylish at affordable prices.
Do you ever have that struggle of you know how to sing it, you know how you're supposed to sing it, and you know what notes you need to do, but there's also like you're trying to, maybe in the studio, you're trying to draw out a certain, it's that idea of like when you hear it, you want to sell it, you know what I mean? You want someone to really believe what you're doing. And I only ask because I've found that like there's been a couple times where it's like I had to kind of throw away technique for a couple things because it was like I'm over singing this. I have to like I have to let my voice do something weird. I have to crack. I have to be emotional. I have to sing this wrong. I have to, to get this, maybe not live, but in the studio, definitely, do you ever have moments like that? Or are you kind of like completely just kind of in command of everything that you're doing vocally?
I mean, when it comes to studio, yeah, I definitely sing it way harsher and push more, and like especially like United Hate Division, like obviously like I'm still using good technique with it, like it's all about the consonants, it's all about the
Yes.
coming from the stomach, but it's like I definitely like really dug in at some points where it's like, ooh, like I could definitely never, if I sang like that live all the time, like it'd be a little much, so obviously when I'm in the studio, you just give it more than when you give a live, because when you're live with everything that's going on, you don't really need to give it as much, and it still has that impact because you're hearing more of just like the pitch and like the tone and like the effects, versus like when you're in the studio, you can hear when you breathe, or like when you have a little bit extra air at the end of like a phrase, you can hear every little thing. So it's like you really have to, sometimes really dig deep, give it a little bit more. Sometimes push, strain just a little bit, like you said, totally. But the biggest thing is like, back to like what I tell my students, like, when being able to control that and say, okay, I'm going to push really hard here, but still have that technique, but just being able to give it more. And then like knowing, okay, the next line, let's take that off, versus like, oh, like, I just don't know how to sing this, or I'm straining all the time. Like being able to like turn it on and off is like everything. Like,
Yeah.
otherwise, you can't, Yeah, otherwise you can't even do it in the studio. Like, I mean, there's some like doing our Pulling Teeth record. We did like the entire CD in like what 2.5 days. Like, and we sang.
wow,
we
that's
did
a
some
lot.
stuff. We did. It was 10 songs, and we did everything like 2 words at a time. Like some lines are literally like 1 word at a time, and then one line. Like nothing was tracked as a full like verse or anything. Like because Craig is very like artsy. Like he wants every little word to have that nuance, which is what I wanted. So you know, like I would not have been able to put in, you know, hours and hours in the studio every single day if you don't have the technique, you know, if you can't turn off that,
True.
you know, bad technique. So it's still really important that you were able to turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I did, you know,
2 days. That's 10
2
songs
days
in 2 days is
yeah,
intense.
That's crazy. Like I remember we were offered in my last band, we were offered to do like 4 or 5 songs. Like we were looking for the like we want somebody to produce us. We want to do like the real deal. And they said, yeah, cool, no problem. We're going to give you, you know, 2 days and you can record your 4 songs. And we're like, no, that's not what we want. We want to get production and you know, try things and all that stuff. So yeah, I didn't think my band was capable of doing that, to be honest with you, tracking and doing all that at once. So did you guys do any of it live or was it all tracked, everything?
What do you mean?
Like
Like,
instrumentally,
did the band play together live, or was that all
No,
tracked?
everything
Like,
is everything's separate. Yep.
Yeah, that's just going in and knowing your
that's
shit.
brutal. That's a brutal 2 days.
Well, I mean, the instruments then, you know, had more. I mean, it was probably
right.
like total, but yeah, I mean, vocals. It was
Still.
kind of.
Oh, okay.
I feel like you know, I feel as vocals, it's always people like whenever we go in for, you know, like a week or whatever to do a record, it's always like the last. I'm like I'm gonna split it up among, you know, evenly amongst the 5 days, so I'm like fresh every day, and it's always like yeah, we'll get to it, and then it's like, do we have like 2 days left, and I still have to do this whole record, and I'm like always like panicking because I'm like, you know, but you know, it always happens and we make it work, so you know.
I literally do maybe a song or 2 every sitting. That's it. That's all I'll do.
Yeah.
I mean, I also have my own studio, so that helps a lot too. And there's no timeline.
Respect, girl.
But
No, to be fair
to
though,
do.
it's just, I mean, like the new single though, United Hate Division. Like I spent like what 2.5 days just doing vocals on that one song. So, because I mean, we just literally, you know, took even more time on it, and they wanted even more digging deeper, and like, you know, we tripled everything, and then we did a shit ton of harmonies, and then it was like screamy parts. Like we went like insane on it. So I mean, you know, it just depends on like the level of, you know, how crazy you want to get with it.
Is United Hate Division the most production that you've done on vocals?
Oh yeah.
Because one, it's so rhythmic, the vocal line to it, right? So there's a lot of harshness happening there, but there's a lot of vocals, there's a lot of, you know, chanties, there's a lot of harmonies, there's so much going on there, which I love that stuff. Is that the most that you've done on a vocally on a record so far?
Yeah, I mean, like in the past, it's been, you know, you track the main line, and then the, you know, whoever, engineer then will just double it and with what they have, and then, you know, you track some harmonies, and you know, you're good to go. But like we worked United Hate Division, we did with Brandon Friesen. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's like insane, awesome producer. And I mean, it was literally like you sing the main line, okay, cool, you know, you get it, you sing it, you get it up, work it up to where he's happy with it, and then you sing that, and then you have to sing the double, and then you have to sing the triple, and then he throws those all together, and then it's like you're doing literally like layers on layers on layers of harmonies of like everything, and then, you know, the layers of like the shoutiness, and then like little nuances here and there. Like it was so much vocals that I was like shook that like that's like the level. They even do more, I guess, with like the big stars like Demi Lovato or Selena Gomez or whatever. Like that really big shit's even like more intense. And I was like, holy shit! Like you don't hear all that when you're listening to a track, but you know, that's what gives the vocals like they're just, because that's the best I've ever sounded as far as just tone and clearness and whatnot. It's like you're like, oh, because there's like 100 of me on this track.
That's like working with this guy.
Everybody's cued different, you know, like
you record with this guy and he'll do vocals for days and days and days, and guitar parts
as
for
many
days
as I can,
days and days,
right?
Literally.
I treat every song like a Beach Boys song, and then we take a bunch of harmonies out that I really love, but that just don't work because they're too weird.
Right.
and then you're
But he
left with the
tries
song.
everything.
And then you're left with the song.
So we do have to take a break.
Yeah, we do.
And pay some bills. So, Steph, we are actually sponsored by a company called Poddex. They're a lot like Cards Against Humanity, but they're not.
Have you played Cards Against Humanity?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they give us a bunch of decks here where they have the episode deck, interview deck 1 and 2, what the heck deck, and a would you rather deck. And each card has a question. It's a good icebreaker if you don't have verbal diarrhea like we do. It's good to help start a podcast.
Yeah,
So-
all budding podcasters. I totally recommend working with them. They're super cool company too. And like I've said before on this show, like I ordered a couple decks and had them delivered to me while I happened to be home during the holidays, and took them out and just kind of like started doing them with my brothers and my parents and stuff. And it was just fun as hell because it was all these questions and just a fun night of it. So they're not just for podcasters.
Yeah. And if you go to poddex.com right now, use the promo code BACON,
Mm-hmm.
you can get 10% off your order.
Despite what Steph says,
Nice.
bacon does things better.
Yes. Doesn't belong in the trash. But regardless,
So-
Steph, we're going to let you pick from either interview 1, interview 2, what the heck, or would you rather deck.
Would you rather?
That's
Popular
become
deck.
both,
Popular deck.
Very popular.
Now, this could be probably PG-13 is as high as it goes for these.
Yeah.
But it also could be completely G. So we never know what we're going to get out of this. So we'll see what happens. Also, I am contractually obligated to let everyone know that I am incapable of shuffling cards, which is why Mike is doing it. I suck at it, though I lived in Vegas for a year. Cannot shuffle cards.
But he can pronounce Minni-eapolis.
I can pronounce Minneapolis. And I did learn how to bartend there, so I can pour drinks. Cannot shuffle though.
All right. So, Steph, what we're going to do is we're going to fan the deck, and he's going to scroll his finger across, and
Okay.
you are going to pick a question.
You just let me know when to stop.
Stop.
Stopping right here. All right. Oh, interesting. Would you like to read it, or am I?
No,
reading
no,
this?
that's all
I'm
you,
reading this.
buddy.
All right. So,
I just did my work.
all right. Steph with an F from City of the Week. Would you rather wear a onesie 24/7 for an entire year, or a horse head costume? I guess you're not the back end, just the top, for a month straight.
Horse head for a month.
That'd be kind of a fun one, right?
That'd be
Hell yeah.
fun. Yeah, onesies are cool though.
Onesies are cool. We saw a
But
great
for a
band
year,
in a onesie, but for a year, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but
the same outfit for a year.
Same outfit for a year is tough. Yeah.
That's like social suicide.
Yeah. Horse head outfit, you can at least change your pants. Pants and
That's
shoes.
true.
And pants and shoes are very important.
And also, no one
Yeah,
will know
yeah,
who you
pants and
are.
shoes.
You know, you're wearing a horse head. You can get away with it because it's a costume. But a onesie would be like, ugh.
Well, you
Same
got to
thing
do it
all
on
day.
stage. You got to do it on stage
Oh,
too. I
man,
mean, it's a
that'd get
month straight.
stank.
That's true.
It'd be so stanky.
that
That'd be so
would
bad.
be awful. I still pick the horse head. I stand by my decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Good decision. I'm with it.
So we're bringing up United Hate Division again. So is that leading to a new record, more singles? How are you guys approaching new music? Because I know that we're kind of, well, he is, my band doesn't, they're whatever. A lot of people are approaching like the singles, like, hey, let's release a single and a single and a single, and let's lead up to either put it together as an EP or a full length or whatever. How are you guys going to be approaching the future? You guys going to do singles for now, or are you working towards a full length?
Can I be totally honest with you? I have no fucking idea.
Nice. That's
Like-
the kind of answer we want.
I like it.
Everybody has been asking us that, and like we always kind of make up some bullshit answer, like, oh yeah, whatever. But I'm like, to be honest with you, like we just put this out, and like we have a bunch of, we have another song we did with Brandon that's done. ready to go. But we want to, you know, we're really crazy artists. Like we want to do a full out music video for it. And like you saw United Hate Division, like we go hard with our music videos.
Yeah, your videos
yeah.
are really good. Your videos are really good.
But we go really hard with them, and we go really big with the production, and we, you know, it just takes a while because we edit them ourselves. Cody does most of it. You know, we produce them. We're all hands on, so it's like it takes so long to do all that for every single song. So we can't do that for every single single. So we're just kind of like, you know, right now we're kind of just focusing on United Hate Division, and like we're, you know, getting a publishing deal right now. We're working on getting all the ads running, even though there's too much profanity for ads to run. So we're like trying to work around it and just get the numbers on it where we want them to be, and have everyone see the song, and then just kind of use that as leverage as like where we're going to go, what we're going to do. We're kind of really working closely with Brandon and just kind of taking direction from him as far as like, you know, let's do an EP, let's put out another single, let's do a full length record. Because, you know, we want to, you know, do the best as we can. You know, we don't want to just keep putting out music and not have a direction. So we're kind of just seeing where this one goes and then kind of using that to segue into something else.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel, and we've talked about this a number of times, that like the single seems to be the way to go nowadays. Again, you know, and that's how things were way back in the day.
Yeah, at least currently,
but
I guess.
Currently, it just seems like that's kind of, people have a short attention span and that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I like, you know, his band is actually doing it too, where they literally treat every single like a record, and they're like, okay, well, this single, this is what we want out of it. This is what we want it to sound like. And I feel like that produces really awesome results. And, you know, like you said, with the, you know, with United Hate Division versus your past things, like you spent 2 days on just vocals for one song, as opposed to, you know.
Yeah, it allows you to kind of like bring the most out of that song.
Yeah, it
Right.
just
It doesn't
kind
have
of
to
hones
fit
in on
with
that
something
song.
else too. It's just kind of like, this song is what it is. We're gonna go all the way with it, and it doesn't have to fit on a record with something else. We're not even thinking that right now. So I definitely think, although I do see it would probably be like, it's tough to get a radio edit of that song, I imagine.
Yes.
We were just talking about that before I hopped on, because I mean, there's definitely stations that want to play it already, you know, because we were close to lots of DJs, but I'm like, we're gonna need a radio edit on that. So, you know, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I think singles are definitely the way to go, and that's why rap and hip hop is just kicking rock's ass right now. Like hip hop, you know, what a few years ago surpassed rock for the first time in history as like the most popular genre, like as far as streaming and sales, which is fucking crazy. Like, you know, rock and roll used to be like number one, like what the hell? So, but it's because rock just has refused to adapt to a new model. Honestly, like so much rock shit is so outdated. And I mean, I'm in rock, so I mean, I could say that. You know, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not saying rock is dead or anything, but rock isn't dead. It's just, yeah, it's not about rock is being dead or whatever. It's literally about just people are just so stuck into like, oh, we did this in the 80s, so let's keep doing it. No other genre is doing that. Every genre is evolving and collaborating, and you know, and rock just seems to be just not there yet. So, you know, I'm with you on that. I think singles and EPs are totally the way to go. I think it is a little bit harder than, you know, getting press for it, and, you know, not having like a product to sell as far as that. So, you know, it is just tough as far as like, what do I do?
Well, the other thing, like you said, having a product to sell, like nobody's buying a record anymore. Like hardly anybody, you know,
unless it's live, unless it's you're doing it as a show. Like we sell records on tour, but that's on tour. That's way different than like just putting it out and not going on tour.
Right.
Yeah.
So
right now we're hoping to start touring again soon. You know, I do see that you guys have some dates booked. Like, is that like, I was gonna say, we figure like it's smart. It's smart to book those things and be like, let's prep for it and everything. Are you prepared either way, or are you just kind of like, man, we're going? Like,
yeah, I mean, the dates have been booked. It's all around Rockfest, Cadot.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's been booked for now 2 years.
2 years.
And so, because I mean, last year I got canceled, and so they said it's going to go on no matter what this year. I mean, Wisconsin's kind of wilding out as far as pandemic restrictions. They never really cared. Obviously, we care as a band. We wouldn't have done it last year anyway, because I'm not going to be the band that gets our fans sick or dead or whatever. Like, we're not trying to do that. But right now, like, we feel confident. Like, you know, enough people are vaccinated. it's available. You know, we're all vaccinated, so we feel a little bit more confident about like, hey, you know, you have the opportunity to get vaccinated. You know, you can say no, you can, you know. So we feel better about it, just, you know, as people. And, you know, it's all around Rockfest. So if Rockfest cancels, then probably everything else,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we're
there's a
prepared.
light at the end of the tunnel, so hopefully
Right.
that it just gets brighter.
Yeah.
I think we think by the end of July, I mean, enough people should be vaccinated. I mean, right now, I think what, 30% or 40% of the US
30
is.
or 40%,
So,
like somewhere between that now. Yeah, it's the
and
last
we
thing I
need for like the herd immunity for it to be okay is like what, 75, I believe, is like the minimum. So I think we should get there by the end of July. Fingers
hoping
crossed.
so.
Fingers
Because
crossed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I miss
otherwise,
live music.
we're
I miss
never going
live
to tour
music
again.
too.
Oh,
My-
I know.
My wife keeps going. She's like, I don't care. Let's go to, you know, Alabama. Let's go to Wisconsin. I need live music. I need to hear how loud things are. She's like, it's different because we've done the live stream thing a few times.
Yeah,
and yeah,
it's
I
not
mean,
the
it's
same.
adapting.
It's good, but it's not the same. What do you
Right.
miss more? And maybe it's like maybe it's not the best question, I guess, but like, what do you miss more right now? Do you miss seeing a live show, or do you miss being a live show more right now?
Being a live show.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. The only thing well, I mean, obviously I miss going to live shows, but the biggest part about like going to live shows is like meeting people and like that sort of sense of community. It feels like home
Yeah.
to us, especially we're in a new city. It's, you know, new music scene. So that's how you know, you meet people, you become part of
Right.
the community, and we're not able to really become part of the community because we can't really meet people because there's no
Right,
shows.
right.
So I'd kill for live shows right now, just to go to them, just to mingle and meet the photographers, meet the other bands, and become part of Phoenix music scene, which was, you know, will be exciting when it
Which is awesome.
happens. But
Yeah, no,
But,
I
yeah.
feel that 100%. It's you know, that is, I don't meet people other ways.
Yeah.
I meet people
Right.
that way, and now this way. I've met you this way.
Right.
Whereas, you know, maybe I would have met you at a show, seeing a show or being in a show, because that's how we all did it before. And yeah, I feel you. Like that's, man, it sucks not to be able to do that. So I'm hoping,
Soon.
fingers crossed that none of your guys' shows get that all of them go extremely well and stay on. I'm not even gonna say the opposite.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna put that shit out there.
And also, you said Phoenix, so I know a guy who owns a studio out there, Corey Spots. I'll forward you his stuff, but he's done some pretty decent things with some pretty reputable bands. So he's got a good studio out there. So if you don't want to have to travel, or if you don't have your own stuff, I'll
Or
hook you up
just
with
to
him.
meet somebody.
And
new.
he also, yeah, he's been playing in bands for in the area for a long time. He's in a band now. I think it's called Sevilla. So yeah, they're very good, very cool.
Nice. Yeah, we're looking to write. Like, we just want to write right now. So we're trying to like find local producers or whatnot, just to get together and do a writing session. So anybody you know around here would be awesome.
I will get you in touch with him for sure. He was in a band called Tolerance that was fucking awesome, and I was so devastated. That was like the first local band that my cousin was friends with them, and then eventually they got really big. But yeah, cool dude, very cool dude.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
So all right, well, just a couple more things, because we're taking up a lot of your time here, and we know you got other stuff to do today.
Good.
We did want to ask about your pets. You have a lot of pets.
yeah, what's going on with your
And
pets?
so we are definitely dog people. We've talked about our dogs on here. We have a sponsorship with BarkBox, and
Oh,
my dog Bruce Wayne has a more popular Instagram than I do, and so we are very, very pet friendly.
Yeah.
Here in the bacon world.
nice.
So turtle, rescue chinchilla, a cat.
Wait, chinchilla? It says I have a chinchilla?
Says
You
apparently you rescued a chinchilla.
Oh, a chihuahua.
Oh,
I wish I had
That
a
interview-
chinchilla.
that interview
because I was like, what?
definitely had a typo.
That's hilarious.
It's
Yeah, no, I
amazing.
definitely don't have a chinchilla. I wish I did.
Oh. Well, you should get one.
I
So-
wish.
So turtle, chihuahua, cat. What else? Who else do we have in the world?
That's all I have because I live in a studio apartment. So, that'll get a little wild. But actually, funny you should mention that because my dog is literally on my lap right now, and she was like crawling, like hitting the computer, like going like this, trying to get on. Because I have it sitting on a pillow right now, and she's like obsessed with pillows. But she was like crawling over the headphone thing and like pulling me down, and I'm like, dude, this whole thing is gonna fall over. But she's sleeping in my lap right now.
We've definitely had dogs invade the
Yes.
podcast before.
Yeah,
It's
I
happened.
believe it.
a number of times. He's got a Frenchton, which is a nice wee little thing.
Yes, French Bulldog Boston Terrier mix. His name is Bruce Wayne. Full name Bruce Wayne. Every vet has to say Bruce Wayne entirely, beginning and end. And
Nice.
yeah, Instagram Bruce Wayne Frenchton. You guys should check him out. He's good.
Okay.
He's got a TikTok too.
He does.
He does.
Jesus, we don't even have a TikTok.
No, we don't. He does. But yeah. So so what are your pets' names? How did you get them? How did you choose them?
Well, I'm huge in rescue. When I was in Minneapolis, I did lots of animal rights. And our band is actually a coalition partner to Fur Free Minneapolis that was helping stop the sale of fur in Minneapolis.
Awesome.
And we actually, I think it actually like went through for the Minneapolis proper city. So that bill essentially saved 10,000 animals a year, which is awesome.
Oh, that's
And I
fantastic.
believe it just came into effect this year, actually. Yeah, so obviously all my pets are rescue. My turtle, a girl just like didn't want him, and he was just sitting in like a little bowl in her bathroom and was like, yeah, I just don't want him. And the poor guy is just like struggling
Aw.
to get out, and I was like, oh, I'll take him home. Had no idea that he was like a little tiny, he was like this big. I was like, oh, he's full grown, whatever, turtles will last like a year. No, he was a baby.
Oh, no.
He's now like big. I mean, he's not big, but he's like sizable, and like, I need a sizable tank for him, and they live like freaking like 40
Oh, yeah.
years.
He'll outlive all of us.
I went to Petco and I was like, oh, I just need like a little, I thought I could give him like a little tank and he'd be cool, but like, no, you need like big tank because he grows, and like the guy's like, yeah, you'll have him forever. And I'm like, what? Like, I was just thinking this is going to be like a freaking little, cute whatever thing. And I'm like, so I guess I just, took on a 40-year pet. Here we are.
Right.
And then
You have a pet you're going to hand down.
Hopefully I don't die at like 67. Hopefully I can outlive him. But and then my rescue dog Lily, I got her from Secondhand Hounds, which is a foster rescue in Minneapolis. And before her I had Lily, another Chihuahua. My cat actually died last year in LA, which is really sad. His name was Gubar, and I had him for like 8 years. I always rescue older pets or like adult pets. So I got him when he was like 7. He was well past his breed's like lifespan. So and he went out with a bang, of course. It's Gubar. He was fine up until his like last day, and then he just kind of peaced out. So
He's like, I'm done.
So he got sick because he had a kidney failure for a while, but like that's treatable. And then once they get it hits, then they're kind of done. And my dog before, we had to get her on an IV. It was kind of a slower process, which made it really hard to watch her suffer. But so my cat got sick one day. He was getting weird and not wanting to get up. So I knew it was the end, and I was like obviously really bummed. But that asshole was like wouldn't get off the bed. He wouldn't do anything, and he was really, really sick. And his thing was that he would always like swipe cups off of, like, he would find, like, if there was a cup in the house, he would find it and knock it over and spill it all over the place. Like, he spilled so many drinks on laptops everywhere. That motherfucker. He was really smart cat. He was a Turkish van. They're like big cats. They're super smart and they love water. And so that asshole was so sick, couldn't get up, wouldn't eat anything. He like crawled to the edge of the bed and like reached his hand up, like, because we had left the house. And so right before he died, he like reached up and swiped the last cup off of the desk next to the bed right before he died.
It's
wow.
his final move of defiance.
Literally, like, we came home, we went out for a couple hours because he was so sick he couldn't leave the bed, and we had been there for a couple days and he was out. Like, so we're like, maybe we should, I mean, do we stay here till he dies? Like, what do we do? So we left for a couple hours and came back, and like the cups on the desk were all overturned, spilled. We're like, yeah, Gubar, thanks, man. So we knew he that was like his last, like, hey, fuck you.
Right.
But it was sad, but it is what it is.
Well, you know what? I like to think of stuff like that and go like, okay, so that's a sad moment, but I like to think that, like, he knew that if he did, it would have been way sadder if he didn't do that. And so he did all that just so you could be like, in your sad moment, you could be like, motherfucker.
Dude, I
Every cup?
know. But
Every
he
cup?
knew, like, he was smart. Like, he was insanely smart. Like, anybody that met him was like, holy shit, he's like a person. But it was so sad. We came home and we found him. He was curled up sleeping and he was just dead. His body was cold. And we found our dog, Lily, little Chihuahua. Literally, her head was resting on his, like, on next to his head,
Aw.
like this. And she was like water was coming out of her eyes. Like, looked like she was like tearing up. And she was like looking at us like, guys. Like, it was like the most heartbreaking thing I've seen in my life.
Oh my God.
Like,
that's
she
awesome.
knew, like, her big brother was gone and like she was
Right.
just sitting there waiting for it. Ugh, my heart, you know. This was now like a year ago, so otherwise I'd be like bawling still.
Well, good. I'm glad we brought that up, that horrible memory for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're able
it's
to-
fine now, but you know, yeah, that's the
I
life
love
of.
pet stories because there's always like just the personalities of them in general, you know, like Gubar knocking water off and everything. We used to have a pit bull named Sadie, and Sadie hated potted plants. No matter how big it was or no matter what it was, if you turned your back, it would be out of the pot. And so my dad and brother went to one of my dad's friends' houses and they were going to go out for a while, and Sadie was out on the porch with the guy's wife, and my dad was like, look, we're going to leave and we're going to be back in an hour. Don't leave her out here, because they had like potted plants all around the porch. And he goes, don't, like, if you even leave for a second, like, she'll take all these out. Right. And they left, and the woman was like, no, I know. And when they came back, she was like, I went inside for literally 2 minutes and walked out, and like every pot was on its side, every like big trees, everything was out, because she was strong. So she would just take it out. So just the personalities and stuff. She chewed the top off of the water sprinkler, so it would just shoot like a geyser straight up in the air. She just put her face over it and try and drink from it, and it would just beat her face. She would drink out of it.
That's amazing.
Man, pets are just the coolest.
Pets are the
They have their
Yeah.
personalities are just so funny and so good. Bruce Wayne's eyes go in different directions. You can sneak up on him from the front because he looks like a lizard.
Oh my god.
Absolutely hilarious.
And we have a younger, we have a mix, Boston Terrier, Beagle, Bulldog,
Mhm.
and he's probably like 24 pounds now. Cute as could be. Real pain in the ass though, because my older dog Bane, who is a boxer and 80 pounds, oh man,
Whoa.
he's like, this little guy is just totally dominating him.
Yeah, I
It's
came over
unbelievable.
today and he was just attacking his back legs and just tripping him.
Yeah.
Just
Oh
tripping
my
him.
goodness.
And like he'll get a running start and he'll just slam into the back of my dog's legs. Just no mercy. Just bam, like right. And yeah, he's pretty great.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's his personality.
So who takes, like, how do you handle having pets and everything when you tour, when you guys were touring so much?
They always stayed at Cody's parents' house. They live in Rochester, Minnesota, so it's like an hour and a half from where we lived. So we just load them all up in the car and just drop them there. And they have 3 dogs, and they used to have a cat, so it's like a fucking zoo there. So our pets loved it. We'd come back to
Nice.
get them from tours, and they would be like, "No, we're not leaving." And then we
Right,
bring them to the house, and they would just pout, like they would literally ignore us for like a day or two because they love going there. So it makes me feel good though that they're in good hands, and they clearly love it there. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I think it's time for you to tell everybody where they can find you and your band City of the Week. Where can they find you on the socials and the internet and all those good things?
Yes, and where can they get your stuff, and how can they support you?
Yeah, merch is super
Yeah,
important,
totally.
guys.
yeah, so you can find everything at our official website, which is cityoftheweekofficial.com. And then we have tons of new merch on there. And obviously any other streaming service, Spotify, Apple Music, just type in City of the Week and there we are. Social media, we don't have any fancy handles or anything. It's always just at City of the Week, making it easy for everybody.
That's the way to
And
go.
Nice.
and we're pretty easy to find. I mean, there's no other anything that's City of the Week. So we always pop up. Even if you type it in wrong, sometimes it'll still pop up. But if you type in City of the WEEK, sometimes it won't pop up. But if you type in WEAK, city of the not strong is what I always tell people. Then then you're good. There's nothing else really on there. That's that. So
Awesome. Yeah, and they have a new single out. It is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It is got a lot of production on it, and it's a great song.
Thank you.
Definitely check them out. Actually, go to their website and check out all their videos. They have a video page on the website that lists them all. You can just go down the list. They have some excellent covers on there. Everything from Incubus to Halsey, which I thought
so
was
good.
that
So
song's
good.
so good.
So anytime a band covers that song, I'm like, damn it,
Yeah,
I wanted to.
exactly.
I really wanted.
Without Me,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like
Just
everybody
good.
covered that song.
it's just such a good song.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know what? It's so good.
and
Every
Pardon
time
Me
you
is one of
hear
my
it.
favorite songs too. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way you guys arranged that was very cool. I really liked.
Thank you.
But I do prefer the originals. I love hearing a band's original sound and hearing them sound like them, and you guys sound like you, and it's fucking awesome. So everybody, check out their videos, check them out, find them on tour this summer in July. Hopefully, we'll be live and making it happen for you. So definitely check them out. Thank you, Steph with an F.
Well,
So
thanks
much for
having
hanging
me.
out with us.
Yeah.
It was
You
a
guys are
lot
really
of fun.
cool, and you guys
Thank
did your
you.
research. I can't believe how much research you guys did. You knew shit already.
Well,
you should.
you
I'm
know.
like, do I do that? Like, oh shit, you guys know me better than I know myself sometimes. Well, sometimes I say shit,
Awesome.
then I forget about it. Like in interviews, like I'll forget about it. So then people will read that interview, and I'm like, oh my god, like that did happen. Like shit.
Well,
Like,
thank you for
it's
clearing
cool.
some of it up because you know,
Chinchilla versus a Chihuahua.
she did not have a
I mean,
chinchilla, and she decided not to major in piano at UCLA.
Well, I think some of them do like the talk to, and then they like do it to talk to text. I think sometimes is what it is. Because there's some
Yeah.
interviews that are like super wonky. I'm like, what? Did I say that? Like, I definitely did not say that. So, but it's cool. I mean, I get how it is. I used to do some interviews for Blank TV, so it's tough. So, but thank you so much.
We just try to not ask any questions that we hate answering in interviews whenever we've
Right.
had the opportunity to be interviewed. We're like, I'm never going to do that.
There's
asking
always
anyone
that like cool.
how'd you get
You've
your
been in the
band name?
band.
Yeah.
How'd
Right.
you get your band name?
Right.
What is everybody's role in the band?
Why do you
It's
spell it with an F?
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Like none of that matters. What matters is that they have a new video out and that they have a new single out and that their website is out and that they're going to be on tour again and that all of you listening and watching should check them out.
Yes.
And would you rather wear a horse head? That's really important too.
And
That
Steph
is
would rather
super
wear a horse
important.
head. And she hates bacon.
And she hates bacon.
But we
Sorry.
like her anyway.
It's okay. Josh Bradford from Silverstein, he came on, and
Name
when we were
drop.
talking, he's like, hey, I'm a vegan. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, of course that's okay.
Why would you ask if that's
What?
okay?
Yeah, dude. because we were talking about it. He's definitely made of maple syrup on the inside.
Oh, absolutely.
He's the nicest, sweetest man ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ever. So anyway, Jim, where can people find you?
You can find me, Jimmy G Shoes, on Instagram and Facebook. My band Craving Strange is Craving Strange Music, pretty much everywhere. You can find us there, listen to us, Spotify, all that good stuff. Strangerhood TV is our collective YouTube network where you can find this show, as well as plenty of other things, our musical endeavors and lots of other, whatever we come up with at the time. I'm also one half of Bacon is My Passion. Mike, where can I
Yes.
find you in that?
Okay, so Bacon is My Passion is on all streaming platforms. But everything that has to do with Jim and I, you can find at baconismypodcast.com and at Bacon is My Pod on all the socials. I am me, my own self, Mike, on all the socials, and you can catch my band Something Heavy at Something Heavy Band. No, at Something Heavy Music.
Minni-eapolis.
Minni-eapolis. Anyway, Steph, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Good luck with everything. Fingers crossed for
Yes.
this summer.
And please, anytime you have anything to promote, anytime you want to put anything out there, you have a direct line to us. You are always welcome to come back on the show, even if it's for 5 seconds to promote something. Feel free to do that. The door is always open. Thank you, and hopefully we'll get to see you live down the road sometime soon. And yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging
Thanks
out
for
with us
having
today.
me. Thanks for hanging. Appreciate you. All
Cool. Thanks, guys.
right, we'll see ya.
We know you love your weekly dose of Bacon is My Podcast. But if you need even more bacon, make sure you head over to baconismypodcast.com where you can engage even more with us. It's a pathway to our music, our extra content, social media pages, and most importantly, some pretty awesome swag for you to show off your bacon. Again, that's baconismypodcast.com. Listen to some tunes, pick up some merch, and tell us what your bacon is.